Welcome to tonight's live lesson. Tonight we're going to be talking about accompanying a singer, and I'm so very, very excited to introduce a wonderful friend, Debi Selby, to you. Debi, thank you so much for being here, being part of our little crazy little quarantine show here.
Right.
From an undisclosed location somewhere in Nashville. We are doing the show. Debi and I have worked together for
long time.
Years.
Yeah, years.
Years.
Mm-hmm.
Two different churches.
Yep.
And work together most weeks. We are working together in some fashion or other.
Yes.
And Debi's one of the top studio singers here in Nashville. Her work has been in so many different places. She has sung with Michael McDonald and Celine Dion and Reba Mcentire, I saw on thing. You sang backup for Larry Carlton when he was doing a show here. You also have done some stuff with Disney.
Yes.
And the Disney theme parks and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
If you walk in and are enjoying any Disney theme park all over the world, whether it's here or in Japan, and you enjoy the castle show and the electric light show and stuff like that, you are hearing, when everybody's got the fireworks going, you are hearing Debi Selby's voice through that. So it is an honor to have you here.
Thanks.
And you're such a wonderful friend, and I couldn't think of a better person to illustrate what we're going to be talking about tonight. We do a lot of this. Maybe you as a guitarist are going to be called on to accompany a singer at some point in your development. So we want to just talk about that tonight, because that's an important skill. There's a couple things that are different about it from a technical standpoint on the guitar. So if you guys have questions, as normal, just put them in all caps in the chat, and then we will get those. Our producer will put those up, and we will get those as well. Tillman, you have found out how to do the super chat. All right, we know that the super chat works. There you go. Well, thank you, Tillman. All right. Well, it comes up in a whole brilliant color on this. All right, that's fun. Well, thank you, Tillman. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Well, let's get talking about accompanying a singer and how that process works. Debi, I know me and you have worked quite a bit doing this sort of a scenario.
Right.
Couple of questions I have. What do you need? What can I do for you as a guitar player? What do you need from an instrumentalist that is accompanying you?
Well, by the way, as you all know, he is the master, and so the things that I need are the things that you do. So, definitely, like just watching a singer, kind of keeping, instead of being buried in the chart, is just kind of keeping the eyes, kind of a communication between the two, because sometimes there's a change of, especially in like worship settings. I throw curveballs at him all the time, and he is fabulous. I mean, fabulous to just change and quick, do something to do kind of along what I'm trying to do. He just knows.
It's my job, I feel, to make you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And make you as a vocalist, as a leader, to feel comfortable.
Right.
So the minute you start feeling unsure, then I know I need to help and steady things up.
Right.
Before we get off on all sorts of craziness, hey, let's sing a song, huh?
Yeah.
We could talk about it, or we could do it.
We could do it.
We have chosen a couple of songs for tonight, so I think we're going to start off with an Ed Sheeran song, Thinking Out Loud. And so I have it written in the key of D, but that is not the right key for you. So we are going to do it in the key of F. So I'm going to capo up here, because I like playing in D, and so we will do it that way. So here's a little bit of Ed Sheeran.
All right, cool.
Sweep you off of your feet.
your mouth still remember the taste of my love? And will your eyes still smile from your cheeks? And darling, I will be loving you till we're 70. Oh yeah. And baby, my heart could still fall less hard at 23. And I'm thinking about how people fall in love in mysterious ways. Maybe just the touch of a hand. Well, me, I fall in love with you every single day. And I just want to tell you I am. So honey, now, oh, take me into your loving arms. Kiss me under the light of 1,000 stars. Place your head on my beating heart. I'm thinking out loud. Maybe we found love right where we are. When my hair's all but gone and my memory fades, and the crowds don't remember my name. When my hands don't play the strings the same way, yeah, I know you will still love me the same. 'Cause honey, your soul can never grow old. It's evergreen. Oh, and baby, your smile's forever in my mind and memory. I'm thinking about how people fall in love with mysterious ways. Maybe it's all part of the plan. Yeah. Maybe I'll just keep making the same mistakes, hoping that you'll understand. So baby, now, oh yeah, 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 take me into your loving arms. Kiss me under the love of 1,000 stars. Oh, place your head on my beating heart. Thinking out loud, maybe we found love right where we are. Oh, baby, we found love right where we are. We found love right where we are.
Beautiful.
And he stuck right there in the middle of my lyric flubs, which I have many.
There you go. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Great. Some of you are already asking great questions about that. Hey, producer, can you turn off our air conditioner if you can? That would be great. So as long as I've got you here just for a second, we were doing Thinking Out Loud. So that is in the key of D, and so that which was too low for you. It's sung by Ed Sheeran, so he's lower male voice. So you found that how did you determine what key you wanted to sing it in?
I have to find what is the highest note, and so usually that's chorus or bridge or whatever, and then make sure that the very highest note of the song is a good, comfortable place for me. So then I find the key that way.
And then we just everything from there. And then me as the accompanist, I have to then adjust what's going on my end so that we can I can make that happen. So I have to make all kinds of little decisions on my end. If she's way off from the original, which is here, I wanted to use these kind of D-ish chords because that's the whole groove of the song. So if she would have said something like, hey, can you play it in B flat? Well then, okay, I can't use my D forms at all. I've got to completely go to a different key and do it that way. So there's some little decisions that I'm making on this end. But capo, I want to generally try, as I'm trying to accompany her, I want to make her sound great, so she's got to be in the right vocal register that's going to work for her. I've got to make the guitar part sound as good as it can be. So if we just played this, in F, then I would be doing a bunch of block chords, and it wouldn't sound near as hip. So that's why I chose to use a capo and put myself 3 frets up, and now I'm playing in D, and I can use all of my wonderful D forms. Because if I played it in F, it wouldn't sound near as hip. So I could still make it work, but I don't have any of my open strings and my cool voicings and none of that sort of stuff. So there is the decisions that I'm making on that end. B. Fitzpatrick is saying, how do you know what's the best key for the singer? Do singers have favorite keys?
I mean, not really. As far as I'm concerned, it just depends on the song. Because sometimes a song it'll be very rangy, and so you really have to take that into consideration. So, I mean, if I had a key that I'm in most often, it would probably be G.
What would you be considered in vocal, soprano, alto, tenor, bass range?
Alto, but if it's like really belted, I do alto soprano as well. So it just depends, but mostly alto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay, great. So as you have questions, please put them up there. I thought it would be good if we could just kind of talk through the process that we have to go through. First thing is you want to choose the song that you're dealing with. I have my notes here. Certain songs can be downsized to this singer-guitarist sort of dynamic. Other songs can't. And so you have to kind of make little judgments. It's not going to sound like the recording. So you have to get the recording out of your ear because we have to create something new, something different. So you may be listening to some heavily synthesized arrangement with all sorts of things and an orchestra in the background, and it's just we can't make that happen with 2 people. So you have to kind of adjust some of the things there. So part of that is choosing which song that works for this sort of dynamic. So no matter how much you love a particular song and think it could be fantastic, if it's some big, heavy, fast, up, synthy, it's not going to work. Just not going to come off.
Yeah, it has to sound different.
Yeah, you have to make it work for this environment, no matter what the environment is. If it's a piano vocal, they've got to change things to make it work for piano. No matter what the instrumentation is, you've got to get that out and create something new with this dynamic. The next thing we've already talked about a little bit is finding the correct key. So she's listening for and that's the vocalist's call on that.
Yeah.
So she determines the key. I don't determine the key, or I'm going to put her in a range she could be out of her range, and it may sound
good. You're good at guessing.
And you're good if we get to a place that's too high. You may flip into a different register or something like that. Now, you can't do that on the fly. You got to decide that earlier on, lest you have problems, which is you start something, and you get to that chorus, and suddenly it's off the chart, and you realize really quickly you probably should have thought about this a little bit sooner. And some of this is trial and error. So you're finding the range of your highest note and lowest note, because sometimes you may hit the chorus comfortably, but the verse ends up being too much in the basement.
Right.
Yeah. And then I have down here, as we talked about a little bit earlier, I want to create a good sounding guitar part, so I try and keep maybe a capo handy so that I can make a good a good creative guitar part for it. Okay. The next thing you do is we work out the form of the song. Okay, so once we've got the key, we've got the song that we think will work, once we got the key, we figured all that stuff out, then we have to work out the form. How many verses are you going to do? 2 choruses, a bridge? Are we doing this? Are we going back to here?
Yeah.
Need to work out the form of the song. And that sometimes is adjusted by the format that you're in. If we're in a wedding and you've got 90 seconds to get that bridal party from the end to up to the front, you make decisions.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. We hit a verse and a chorus. I've hit things where it's, we want our favorite song to be as we're walking in, and it is literally 5 steps. So it is like, so we end up playing the intro and then the hook of the chorus and out. So you have to make adjustments of how long the song needs to be,
Yeah, definitely.
And in some situations, you may not know that completely worked out ahead of time. You may need to stretch it or something like that and take it around again.
Yeah. I mean, we have signals that we use, but can't really always do that.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And being attentive to each other. So my job is to serve the needs of her and the song. So if we need to take it around and do that verse again, do that chorus again, then I'm ready to do that. And she cues me on when to do that. So I'm the horse, so all she needs to do is tug on that little thing, and I'll know which way to go with that. And if I'm not paying attention, then I'll miss it, and we'll miss that chorus, and then it doesn't look bad on me. She's the one in front holding the mic, so it's important. It's really, really important. Okay, after we work out the form of the song. Which, let's talk about that for a second. We have intros. I'll give you the chord progression and a little bit of the groove. Then we usually do verses.
Yes.
And then a chorus. And then maybe go back to a verse. Remember the verses, we talked about this last week, are telling the story of the song. The chorus is the main idea. And then sometimes... like in the Thinking Out Loud, we had a pre-chorus, which is a new thing. We hadn't talked about that before. The little pre-chorus is this part of the song that happens before the main chorus of the song. In this one, it was I'm in the wrong key. It was the... that little part of there was the pre-chorus. Then we do the chorus, back to the verse, back to the chorus, and then there we had decided before we even got on the air that we were going to do the little tags at the end. And tags you generally do 2 or 3 times. We decided to do it 3, and then I gave a nice clear. So I slowed it down.
And that's super helpful. Like those kind of cues for a singer just make us feel like there's an anchor happening.
Yeah.
Because, and even in the very beginning, sometimes you're not totally sure if you're supposed to come in or if they have in their mind that they're playing. But Steve is great at giving some kind of chord or a way that you're playing it that makes it very clear that that's where you're going or that I'm supposed to come in.
I never want her to wonder where she's at in the song or where I'm at in the song. That she's got enough to worry about singing and leading and presenting the song than to worry about is he going to make the chorus or are we going to do the verse? What's the so we can do little tricks with that. We can do little leading into let's see just that little that little walk down, little walk ups and walk downs help everyone to know where we're going into the next part of the song. Very helpful.
Yeah, it's super helpful.
Yeah.
To a singer, it's like a life preserver.
Exactly. So. Now it's not saying like we may both know that we're going to the bridge or the chorus or the whatever at that point, but when I go, then suddenly there's no doubt, and I'm doing a little, or whatever. I'm leading her into that. And intros, I'm establishing the groove, so I can't just go.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was right.
She doesn't know where to come in. Nobody knows what's going on. Now I may be just insecure or whatever, but she doesn't need that. She needs me to be Mr. Rock Steady. So I may not necessarily know everything that's going on, but I need to give her a firm platform to stand on. I don't know how to present that.
Yeah, that's one thing that I was thinking that is super important is just having some kind of rhythmic something to where you can feel that groove, you can feel where the time is. Either, I don't know, just like chucking or whatever you do, you do, something that just helps.
Establishing a clear tempo. Like I was doing this fingerstyle for most of the thing. Okay, so even just the little, all those little snaps and clicks and pops help establish. There's no doubt where the tempo is.
Yeah.
Now she may want to, if she wants to linger and not necessarily to come in when I lay the platform out for her, that's completely fine. My job is to lay the platform out. And then if she chooses not to jump at that point, then I'm taking it right around again, just like we completely planned it that way.
Right. Yeah.
But whenever she wants to come in,
Yeah.
then she knows where to come in. So that's really part of my job.
What is that called when you're hitting?
I'm just whacking it with my... I can do it without the... I can't think about it.
Yeah. I'm great.
I'm hitting it and I'm immediately muting it. So I'm hitting it, not just with my thumb, but even my whole hand is hitting that and then just slapping the strings against the neck.
Yeah.
And it just gives a little bit of a backbeat. You can overdo it really easy, but...
Especially if it's just you.
Yeah.
It feels like there's some percussion behind it, and so it's immensely helpful to a singer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Much less helpful is just a strummy kind of... Now it's the same tempo, but it's much less defined of what's happening and where I'm supposed to come in at. And I could look at her, that was it, and she doesn't know. She doesn't know. So little things like that help. Those little percussion things. Gene is asking, if the singer gets stumped, what does the guitarist do?
Singers never get stumped.
What do I do? I try and make her feel as comfortable as possible. Now, she may be dealing with all kinds of things. She may need I try and give, if she needs a cue note, I will try and... I just hint at the melody. Whatever.
Yeah.
There's no doubt what her note is.
Right.
And if it's a kind of a fuzzy thing, then I'll kind of linger on that last, whatever the note is, the things she wants to do.
Right.
So that's how I help her. And if she just gets stumped, my job is to make it look like we completely meant to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're good at that. You're good at that.
It's just live. This stuff happens live, and you just try and make the best of it.
Yeah.
So many great questions. I have one last thing down here, rehearsing. Now, we have rehearsed extensively for this. No, we went through the songs one time. But you need to rehearse to make... But if we would have just gotten up here, having never rehearsed, let's just do it.
Yeah.
You're walking a tightrope there that you may or may not be able to cross.
Yeah. And that's scary.
Yeah, scary for her. And I don't need her to be scared. I need her to be secure and settled and relaxed and know that I'm going to be there. Another thing is I don't want to get too creative and change things because that she's counting on that platform to be there for her to jump off. But if I get, let's see. And I may think
cool, though.
it's fantastic in my head, but
But
we haven't worked it out, so we don't know. So I got to establish what I'm going to do, and then stick with it.
that was cool, though.
We should do something. We should do something like that. Okay, I have just another thought or two. As an accompanist, I want to play strong. I want to be solid in tempo and in the chords, and I just need to be solid. She's singing on top of what I'm laying down for her. So if I get hesitant or unsure, then everything falls apart because she has nothing to stand on. So I've got it. When you're accompanying somebody, everybody kind of thinks it should be, American Idol, and we kind of flowy. In live, it doesn't really work that way. You gotta be steady. Clear tempo. If I'm not sure of the tempo, I need to make sure I am sure of the tempo. If it's now, she may say it's too fast, it's too slow. Great, then I'll write on my part. Don't start too fast. Pick it up a little bit or whatever, so that we're in the right thing.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. And we also talked about following and leading. So she is leading at all points. She's leading, and I'm just following. So I have to be watching her. If she wants to take it around another time or wants to slow things down or speed things up or whatever, I need to be attentive, not buried in my music. So.
Right. Yeah.
Cool. Cool. John is saying, can I explain what bridges and something is? A bridge. Do you want to talk about this? I'm talking too much.
What a bridge is? It's kind of like the connector. It's kind of the channel in the middle.
It's a different. It's a commentary on, oftentimes lyrically, on what's happening, and it usually happens kind of after you've done verses and choruses a couple times. You'll go to this other section of a song called a bridge.
Kind of breaks it up a little bit.
That song did not have a bridge. It just kind of had the verse chorus part of it, and then the end. Want to do another song?
Sure.
Okay. And as you guys have questions, Texas Packer fan is saying, how do you recover when the singer loses their place in a song?
I mean, again.
Not that that's ever
happened.
happened.
We don't do that.
It's never happened.
I do that all the time. I'm just being honest.
When things get shaky, your job as the accompanist is to get solid. So if she's feeling unsecure of where to jump in or where the tempo is, then I start laying. I steady up. So there's no doubt. So if she's, if she fumbles or or misses a lyric or something like that, our job is to make the song work. So we try and recover from that. We can't.
Probably just less, like you were just doing, a little less busy.
Yeah.
If you can see that I'm like struggling to figure out where, and just real solid. Yeah. Helps.
Our job is to present the song for performance. So I don't play every lick I ever knew. You don't sing every lick you could on all this stuff. Our job is to present the song in the way that it needs to be presented. So, and that definitely changes depending on what environment you're in. So, wow. Okay, let's do another song. We're gonna do. Let me tune up here. Something by the Beatles.
The Beatles.
We do Yesterday by the Beatles. And then after we do this, we're going to just show you how we put together a song. And we'll do a song that we've never done. Actually, we did sneak a little bit and figure out the right key, but we'll pretend we didn't.
Right.
Okay, so y'all didn't hear
Just
that.
forget that.
Okay, so we're going to do Yesterday. Now, Yesterday is in the key of F. Okay, that's the original key. That's the original key that the Beatles did it in. But that is not a key that works for you. So the key that you wanted it in was
A.
A. She wants it in A, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I didn't want to do, again, an artistic choice, depending on what needs to happen at the moment. I didn't want to do the old traditional Yesterday. Okay, I just thought, we did more, what it sounded like on the Ed Sheeran song. This one, maybe we could kind of come up with something a little bit more interesting. So, I have it written in my part in F. She wants it to sound in A. I want to play it in order to sound cool in D. So, you as the guitar player, there's a lot of musical math that's happening at this point. So I'm going to put my capo at the 7th fret. Now I'm going to play in D, reading off a chart that's in F, and it's now going to sound in A for her to do it. So there's a lot of musical math that's happening here. So, and we're going to create something different. So it's a real high, sort of a music box sort of sound, and I'm looking at a chart that's written in F, and I've snuck a couple of chord changes in the key of D over the top of it. This regular real book, regular old, right out of the real book. Okay. And so let's see if we can make some magic happen.
All right. Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Suddenly, I'm not half the man I used to be. There's a shadow hanging over me. Oh, yesterday came suddenly. Why she had to go, I don't know. She wouldn't say. Oh, I said something wrong. Now I long for yesterday. Oh, yesterday. Love was such an easy game to play. Now I need a place to hide away. Oh, I believe in yesterday. Why she had to go, I don't know. She wouldn't say. Oh, I said something wrong. Now I long for yesterday. Yesterday. Love was such an easy game to play. Now I need a place to hide away. Oh, I believe in yesterday. I believe in yesterday.
Beautiful. The one little blip on that was my string got off of my capo about halfway through the song, so I could no longer use my first string. So a little live demonstration of things you have to deal with. So you'll notice that one little hesitation where I didn't set it up for you coming into that bridge again. That was because I just went. I just lost 1/6 of my guitar. So that's what happened there. So you have to kind of juggle that. So then I could have freaked out, stopped the song, ruined everything, probably should have anyway, because it was such a pretty moment. Or I just had to make do and do the rest of the song using only 5 strings. So that's, maybe we'll do that one again before we go. And because it was so pretty, so pretty.
Still with 5 strings.
With 5 strings
You
on my
can still do
5-string
it.
guitar, we made that happen. Okay. Pat is asking, Debbie, do you ever have musicians that play too loud and drown you out? What do you do?
Oh gosh. I mean, I don't know that I have people playing too loud, because usually I've got control of, I'm in a band situation, so I can turn somebody down if I need to.
You tell them about you've got ears that you...
Yeah, in-ears. I love my custom ones. So those just like fit inside your ear, and they have fantastic sound. And I usually just wear one, and it's not really the best thing for your ears, but I just wear one and then leave one out. Especially like if we are doing, say, worship together, I will always have the ear out that's closest to where Steve is, so that if he says anything in just open air, I can hear him. But as far as somebody playing too loud, I usually have control over that. But I mean, Steve is, when we're together, he's the band director, so he can tell somebody to play something a little differently.
And volume is a very... I can turn up. I got a knob. A vocalist can't. She's only got so far that she can push before we get into the danger zone.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And she may be able to belt out a note or two at a high volume, but you can't do a show that way.
Yeah.
You're going to end up hurting your
Yes.
voice, seriously hurting your voice.
So it's really, honestly, in a setting like that, you really depend heavily on your sound engineer to, as a singer, it's best to set things in your ears how you want to hear them, and then not over sing, because if you're trying to match some crazy high level that you've got everything else turned up to, then those are the moments that I start like overdoing it vocally.
Can you, what is it, how do you know when you're overdoing it vocally?
Well, if you start cracking and just in between like what you're doing, you can feel that you're very tense in your throat. I mean, you can feel it physically. Usually for my voice, it almost feels like it's locking up, because I think my vocal cords are trying to protect themselves from me overdoing it. So if you have any kind of pain while you're singing, stop. Like that's a huge red flag.
But as long as we're talking about it, what about warming up your voice and things like that? Is there some things that you do? Or?
Yes. My favorite thing to do, and it looks completely silly, is lip trills.
Mm-hmm.
You did them all as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like just so I'll usually do 2 times up on an octave, go up a half note, do it again, and then and all the way up, and it basically puts all the pressure here instead of on your vocal cords. It's a great way to warm up.
Did you have, sorry, we're not usually in this situation where I'm interviewing you. This is really nice. Did you have, I know you were in choirs and things like that. Do you have a vocal coach? Do you have somebody that you really, as a professional, has given you some advice, even if it's just
let's see. I took voice lessons for years in my teens and early 20s, and then was in college learning like vocal. I took vocal lessons in college and then did all the choirs and stuff. But honestly, since I've been in Nashville, I have not actually gotten with a vocal coach, and I need it. I think every singer needs to have some kind of, you know, brush up, or have somebody listen to you and go, okay, you need to do this. So I'm actually at that point where I feel like I need to do that again.
Do you, I know you have your water with you. Do you, I know some folks do lemon and other stuff.
Yeah.
Do you find anything that helps?
I wasn't planning on doing this. I'm going to put a little plug for Voice Tea. I think it's voicetea.com is really good for your voice. It's got all kinds of, I don't know. I don't even remember what she puts in it, but it's really soothing to your throat. Some people say, oh, use throat coat. That's a popular one. But that isn't as nearly as good as this other stuff. Just kind of soothes your chords, and then, you know, you can do all kinds of stuff. I've got this spray that my friend creates with some essential oils, and it's got frankincense in it and some other things, and it tastes horrible. It is the worst tasting stuff, but again, if you're really, especially if you're sick and you're trying to sing, it can really just soothe your vocal cords to where they can kind of recover.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Ron Service, look at you. Thank you so much, Ron. My screen lit up red on that. That's fun. Thank you, Ron. That means so much. You know, with talking about volume just here for a second. Hey, guitar player, really with singers, you got to be careful. You can hurt them by being too loud, like really cause damage. Don't do that. Don't force you already got drums in a lot of situations and bass and everything. Don't create the wall of sound and make the singer have to do that. So their monitor mix is really important. If it's too little, then they shout, and they've got to try and overcome that, and it's not good. It's really, really not good. It's dangerous. So you've really got to watch that with vocalists. Like Debbie, I like to have one ear in and one ear out when I'm doing. I know a lot of guys do double in, which is great. Agree with Debbie. It is a tendency to you got to watch the volume, because you're listening. If it's a loud stage volume, you may have to really crank this, and next thing you know, this is really insanely loud, your ear. And so you got to be careful about that. I'm fully expecting, you know, this ear to have more problems with high end and stuff like that.
I just feel like for me personally, having both in, I just feel too claustrophobic.
Right.
Like,
You feel like you're in a glass bubble.
Now they do make in-ears. I forgot what brand, but it's ambient, so it has little holes. So you're actually hearing the room, but you have your in-ears completely in. So I kind of want to get those.
Yeah. Yeah. The molded is really an improvement from just regular ones. It changes the game for that. So yes, it costs a little bit to do that, but well worth it. It does change the game for that. Oh gosh, the time is getting away from us. Jean is saying honey for vocal cords?
Yes. Yeah, that's very good. Honey, lemon tea. Just be careful with tea. Teas can tend to dry you out, but honey is definitely good, for sure.
All right, so let's pretend we're learning a new song. So we're going to do the song "Isn't She Lovely?" Now, this was one of the ones that we did not really go through. I mean, this literally happened 5 minutes before we turned on the camera. So I printed out the lyrics for it, for Stevie Wonder's "Isn't She Lovely?" And so she would have the lyrics, and then I found a little groove, and we found out what key we needed to do it in.
He guessed.
I just
correctly.
guessed.
Isn't
Wow. If we would have rehearsed that, just think what would have happened there. That would have been great.
Steve has a way of playing things, and he knows what I'm going to say. He'll play one chord, and I just have to look in the middle of whatever we're doing, in the middle of a service or whatever. I just have to look over and be like, so.
We went through, that was a lot of fun. Mostly because we didn't quite know where we were going to turn, so it just kind of kept us both on our toes there. Wonderful. Okay, well, that was fun. We should do more of that. We should do, like, nights where y'all just try and stump us. No, that would be terrible.
Oh.
That would be terrible.
I'd have to just not know the lyrics.
Okay, a couple more questions, then we got to land this ship. Airy Six String is saying, Debbie, when you have to sing harmonies, thirds, etc., how do you train to just fall into the harmony when required? How do you hear the harmony, I suppose?
How to hear harmonies.
Wow, that's a whole... in one sentence or less.
How do you hear harmonies? I think if you can think, I mean, this is very simple, but if you can think as like 1, 3, 5, that's very basic. But if you're like this is 1, and then you just think counting up 1, 1, 2, 3, and then 3, 4, 5, da da da. If you can think as 1, 3, 5, a lot of times that if you're just trying to get a basic hear a harmony, that can help. But it also it's the key. It's the key you're in, and really listening to those chords. So if you have a chance to practice ahead of time, that's great, because then you can learn those, especially songs that are really, especially with chords he plays, which are super like pretty, and there's like there's harmonies that would be fun to learn.
If you, as a professional vocalist, your level of being able to create harmonies in a setting is so advanced. It's more defined than you would think in a setting, for at least from what I've seen of some of the vocal settings, that it's like, what are you doing? Okay, you're doing a third. Okay, well then I'm going to do a fifth, or I'm going to do whatever. So it's not quite, well, you just sing it and I'll hum along, which is what you'll see a lot oftentimes with more inexperienced singers. They're just kind of humming along, and in harmony-wise, and that it needs to be more defined with that. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to say that better.
You really need to know that, be able to train your ear to hear that whole scale within the chord. Because as long as you're staying in there somewhere, usually that whatever part you pick will work somehow, usually. But, again, a lot of it's just listening to music and practicing. Practice. I used to drive with my daughter in the car, and when she first started singing, she was a little girl, and we would put like One Direction in, and we would sing, and I would sing a part, and then I would say, okay, here's your part, and then she would get it, and then if she came off of it, I'm like, okay, here where I am, do you hear where the main singer is? Okay, this is the whole. So you're kind of looking for that place that has, like, I don't know, the other part of the chord.
Right.
Trying to hear it. So yeah.
And you got to be careful. Sometimes one part will go to that fifth or whatever, and then you may have to change directions to hit another note that's not that fifth. True. Thomas Son, thank you so much. You guys are really helping us continue on with these lessons. This is really good. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Ron. This is something we really haven't tried, but as long as we're talking about harmony, so if here's the melody to Isn't She Lovely, Isn't She Wonder, so if you had to think of some harmony, it's precious, less than 1 minute, oh, I never thought through love we'd be making one as lovely as she. Isn't she lovely, made from love? Love. Wow, that's really scary. How do you do that? That's really...
Oh, gosh.
Wow. Wow, that was really good. So a little lesson in creating harmonies. One thing I would also say that was in my notes, I think this is the last thing that I had in my notes there. Even though I'm accompanying, you don't want to be in any situation following in the sense of you're always one step behind. You're always a half a beat late. You're listening and reacting to what she's doing, but I'm always 2 steps behind her. And that makes her always feel like she's got to slow down to me, which we get in this back circle, and I always want to go back behind her, so it ends up just completely disintegrating. So I've got to be steady. You can't, when you're working together, you can't trail behind each other. I can't react to what, in one sense, yes, I am reacting. I know. But what I'm talking about is I can't just let her take the weight of it and me just coast along because she's cueing off of me. So I've got to be like a drummer would be in a situation. I've got to be the one that, right or wrong, I'm setting the tempo, and then she is maneuvering that as she needs to. But I can't follow her, right, in that sense. You know what I'm saying? So I am reacting to what's going on, but I can't be always 3 steps mentally, 3 steps musically behind her.
Yeah, I feel like confidence, even if I'm not exactly going in that, if confidence is coming from your accompanist, you're going to just feel good.
And it doesn't mean that it's loud. It just means that it's steady. You want to see a singer really love what you're doing? For goodness sake, lay it out for them. Then suddenly they go, oh, okay, I can relax. I know what's going on. So you have to be, as an accompanist, strong and solid, so they can do it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Debbie, so much.
Thanks
This ended
for
up being a
having me.
whole lot more fun than I was envisioning. We've got, let's give away a couple of things, and then we've got one more. Actually, let's do the song first, then we'll give away some stuff. Okay? I see everybody is doing... Thomas Moore is asking, what are some cool recordings that you have sang on?
Backgrounds, I've just recently sang on Better Days by One Republic. I don't know if anyone's here. It's kind of become the theme of this whole quarantine, COVID-19 thing.
Speaking of One Republic, if you guys were paying attention to the NFL draft, online draft that happened just 3 days ago, you were in the video with One Republic that NFL put up for the draft.
Yeah.
So if you look up there as in that video, just go to NFL's Facebook page and it has that video there, and you know about that was all done in Nashville, and so you sang on that. Speaking of which, earlier this week, Rolling Stone magazine put up all the studio singers in Nashville came together and did a hymn. This was probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago when it first came out, but Rolling Stone magazine referenced the collaborations just earlier this week.
Yeah, they posted it and played it, so pretty cool.
How did that happen, by the way?
My friend David Wise, he's a arranger, producer. He said that God just woke him up in the middle of the night and gave him this idea for everybody. It's basically a cell phone virtual choir, and so we all recorded at home portions of the song that he assigned to us with a click track. He's very organized. Click track, vocal guides. So we were listening, but we were just recording with our phones and just our voices, and then they put it together. He and our friend Garth Justice put it all together, and it was cool.
It Is Well With My Soul is the hymn. If you want to look that up, by 1026 Music. And if you want to look that up on YouTube, maybe our moderators can find that thing. We wanted to close it out with a song that Debbie wrote that we do quite often at church, and we've done this as a duo together quite a few times. So we wanted to close it off with that. This song is in the key of G, and so we will just play this for you, and then we'll give us some stuff away at the end. So here we go.
Spend a moment away from your presence. I don't want to live my life apart from who you are. So come, Holy Spirit, Lord, I am willing. Come inside and change my heart. Make me more like you. Oh, Father, I
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you so much for being here.
It was so fun.
What a joy.